Here's the thing nobody in a dealership will ever say to your face. The exhaust bolted to that bike on the showroom floor might be the worst thing you ever do to it. Not because exhausts are bad, because the wrong exhaust is worse than stock. It can wreck your fueling, strangle your throttle response, crater your resale value, and make your motorcycle sound like a garbage truck with a sinus infection at 6 in the morning. 10 years ago, almost any aftermarket exhaust could sell on noise alone. Riders heard it, felt it in their chest, and handed over cash. That era is dead. Today's riders pull up dyno charts on their phones while standing in the parking lot. They know the difference between a system that adds real horsepower and one that just adds decibels and regret. And get this, the exhaust industry has cracked wide open into two brutal camps because of it. Companies building genuine engineering, and companies surviving on chrome, nostalgia, and pure volume. Today, MotoMind is naming both. 3 brands you should walk away from, and 6 that will actually transform your motorcycle into something sharper, lighter, and more valuable. Stick around until the end, because the final brand on this avoid list went from respected industry staple to what riders are quietly calling the Harley aftermarket's walking midlife crisis. The avoid list. Avoid number 3. Two Brothers Racing, the energy drink of exhaust brands. Two Brothers Racing built something real in the early 2000s. They were an aggressive American performance brand with attitude to spare. And for a generation of sport bike riders just getting into the hobby, they felt like the cool older brother handing you the keys. That reputation carried them for years. But here is where it gets truly desperate. The brand that once stood for American performance aggression has drifted into something far less flattering. Today, Two Brothers is almost exclusively associated with beginner sport bike culture, and not in a flattering way. The real kicker is the quality control story that has been building in online communities for over a decade now. Persistent complaints about cracked brackets, inconsistent welds, and throttle response that goes completely sideways after installation without a proper tune. These are not isolated incidents, they are a pattern. Translation, you bolt it on, it sounds aggressive. And then 6 months later, your fueling is a mess and you are chasing a lean condition your stock ECU was never designed to handle. Here's the thing about a brand that prioritizes loudness over refinement. It can survive beginner markets almost indefinitely because there is always a new wave of riders who just want their bike to sound mean. But it cannot survive the enthusiast market, where experienced riders are comparing before and after dyno runs and walking away unimpressed. Two Brothers is like installing nightclub speakers into a shopping cart and calling it engineering. Loud, memorable, and structurally questionable. Bottom line, if you are buying your first exhaust and you want a cheap thrill, Two Brothers will deliver it. If you care about throttle refinement, long-term durability, and resale value on your machine, keep walking. Avoid number 2. M-Avory, Instagram engineering. M-Avory arrived from Italy with genuine credibility. Stylish, European, and initially respected as a performance option for riders who wanted something beyond the standard Japanese offerings. And get this, they were not wrong to feel confident early on. The fit and finish looked premium. The branding was sharp. For a while, MIVV sat in a legitimate middle ground between budget systems and the upper tier European names. But here's where it gets truly revealing. When you start comparing the actual performance data, the dyno sheets, the back-to-back power runs, the real-world throttle feel, MIV increasingly struggles to justify its price positioning. Performance gains are frequently modest against premium rivals. Fitment consistency complaints continue appearing across rider forums, and the brand's loyalty rates trail significantly behind Akrapovic and Yoshimura. Translation, riders who buy MIVV once do not always come back for a second system. The real kicker is the discount problem. A brand that commands genuine performance confidence does not need to be heavily discounted online to stay competitive. MIVV is regularly slashed in price to move units, and that tells you everything about where market confidence actually sits. MIVV is eyeliner for motorcycles. Flashy under neon lights, genuinely attractive at first glance, but not engineered for real combat. Here's the thing about aesthetics-first exhaust brands. They can survive in markets where riders care more about how a bike looks than how it actually performs. But as the enthusiast base gets sharper and more data-driven, the gap between looking fast and being fast becomes brutally expensive. Bottom line, your money deserves better than a photogenic exhaust with a mediocre dyno chart behind it. Avoid number 1. Cobra exhaust. Chrome nostalgia on life support. Cobra exhaust was a dominant name during the cruiser boom of the 1990s and early 2000s. Loud chrome pipes, V-twin character, and a product line that felt perfectly matched to what riders wanted at the time. They were not wrong. They were just right for an era that is now firmly in the rearview mirror. And here's the thing. Instead of evolving, Cobra doubled down on what worked 30 years ago, and the market has quietly moved on without them. Here is where it gets truly uncomfortable. The cruiser segment itself has stagnated while A, D, V bikes, naked bikes, and sport touring machines have captured the growth. Cobra's entire product identity, chase, chrome, loud, heavy, V-twin, is built around a shrinking customer base. Dealers are frequently bundling Cobra systems with steep discounts just to clear aging inventory. That is not a healthy brand signal. That is an inventory glut problem in a market that no longer has the appetite to absorb it. And get this? The resale value conversation is brutal. Riders increasingly swap Cobra systems out when they go to sell their machines because buyers in the used market are not excited to see them. Translation: the exhaust you paid real money for is now actively working against your bike's resale value. That is not an accessory, that is a liability. Cobra feels like a leather recliner bolted to a motorcycle. Comfortable, loud, and decades behind modern exhaust engineering. The real kicker is that Cobra had the time and the market position to adapt. They chose not to. Bottom line, in 2026, buying a Cobra exhaust is the motorcycle equivalent of installing a cassette deck in a brand new car. Nostalgic perhaps, but you are going to regret it when you try to sell. Before we get into the 6 brands that are actually worth your money, drop a comment below. Which exhaust brands are you seeing riders avoid in your local riding community right now? Because the trends we track at MotoMind do not always match what the dealerships are telling you, and your real-world data matters. Let us know. The performance list, number 6, Delkovich, the budget assassin. Nobody expected Delkovich to matter. They entered the market as the cheap alternative, the brand you bought when you could not afford anything else. And get this, somewhere along the way, they became genuinely respected. Not because they chased premium pricing or race credentials, but because they quietly solved a real problem. When premium brands abandon older motorcycles, Delkovich shows up. Aging Honda platforms, classic Suzukis, the legendary Hayabusa community. Delkovich became the exhaust brand that actually supports bikes the big names have moved on from. Here's the thing about stainless steel construction at accessible price points. When it is done right, it delivers honest reliability without charging you for a titanium finish you will never actually need. Delkovich manufactures smart, durable systems that give value-focused riders real performance gains without the exotic pricing. Translation: you get genuine improvements in flow and sound character without taking out a second mortgage. Bottom line, Delkovich is harbor freight with horsepower, not glamorous. Not the brand you brag about at the track, but weirdly, consistently effective for what it is. Number 5, Vance and Hines, the Harley religion. Vance and Hines survived something most aftermarket brands could not. They watched the cruiser world contract around them and came out stronger. While competitors scrambled to chase every new market segment and diluted their identity in the process, Vance and Hines stayed obsessively focused on one thing: V-twin tuning, deep, low-frequency torque, the kind of sound and power delivery that became culturally inseparable from Harley-Davidson ownership itself. And get this, they did not just survive the consolidation, they became a dealership staple, frequently installed before delivery on new bikes. The real kicker is the resale value story. In the Harley community, a Vance and Hines system is a selling point, not a liability. Buyers in the used market actively look for it. That is the opposite of the Cobra situation. Translation: Vance and Hines built so much brand equity inside a specific community that their product now functions like an upgrade badge rather than just an accessory. Here's the thing, they did not try to be everything to everyone. They chose their tribe and served it with ruthless consistency. Bottom line, if you ride a Harley, Vance and Hines is not just a brand. It is practically a rite of passage. Number 4, Yoshimura, the samurai sword. Yoshimura has been winning races since before most current riders were born. Decades of Japanese superbike dominance, real dyno data across Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, and Honda platforms, and an engineering philosophy that never chased aesthetics at the expense of actual performance. And get this, The counterfeit market tells you everything you need to know about a brand's real-world demand. Fake Yoshimura systems flood online marketplaces globally because genuine ones remain so highly sought after that bad actors built an entire shadow industry around copying them. That is not a problem. That is a compliment. Here is the thing about brands that balance performance gains, sound quality, and long-term reliability across decades. They become the safe bet. Riders who do not want to gamble on fitment issues, cracked brackets, or mediocre dyno returns reach for Yoshimura because the track record is simply there. Translation: this is bulletproof engineering with race credentials going back further than most riders have been riding. The real kicker is that Yoshimura never abandoned engineering credibility when cheaper, louder competitors tried to undercut them. Bottom line, Yoshimura is the samurai sword of exhaust brands. Refined, deadly effective, and absolutely impossible to kill. Number 3, SC. Project MotoGP for the streets. SC Project went from boutique Italian race supplier to full-blown superbike icon faster than almost any brand in the exhaust world. They are the soundtrack of modern European performance culture, and Ducati riders, Aprilia enthusiasts, and Triumph fans have adopted them with the kind of loyalty brands spend decades trying to earn. And get this, AC Project is also one of the most counterfeited exhaust brands on the planet, right alongside Yoshimura. Because once again, when fakes flood the market, it confirms that the real thing is worth chasing. The real kicker is the weight and power combination. Lightweight titanium architecture with genuine top-end power gains is not marketing language. It is measurable on a dyno and feelable in the seat of your riding pants at 9,000 revolutions per minute. Translation: this is not an exhaust that makes your bike sound faster, it is an exhaust that actually makes your bike faster. And the sound is the byproduct of real engineering rather than the goal. Here is where it gets truly exciting. In our use SC Project systems sell fast and hold value because the performance community knows what they are worth. Bottom line, SC Project does not whisper horsepower. It starts a mechanical riot. If MotoMind is giving you the kind of brutally honest motorcycle industry analysis you cannot get from a dealership brochure or a sponsored review channel, hit subscribe and smash that like button right now, because we are just getting to the top 2. And the number 1 brand on this list has a story that completely rewrites what an exhaust company can become. Number 2, Arrow, the engineer's exhaust. Arrow built something rare in the exhaust world, a premium reputation without premium hype. They did not plaster their brand across MotoGP paddock banners or flood social media with influencer partnerships. They let the engineering do the talking, quietly accumulating credibility among Triumph owners, middleweight sport bike riders, and anyone who wanted genuine race-derived performance without crossing into Akrapovic territory on price. And get this, that positioning turned out to be exactly where a massive underserved market was waiting. Here's the thing about a brand that focuses on usable power rather than peak power numbers. Usable power is what you actually feel in the real world, in corner exits, in mid-range pull, in the way a bike responds when you crack the throttle on a fast sweeper. Translation: Arrow builds exhausts tuned for how real riders actually ride, not just for dyno bragging rights. The real kicker is that their race heritage is legitimate. This is not a company that slapped racing into its brand name for marketing purposes. The refinement and balanced tuning philosophy comes directly from actual competition development. Bottom line, Arrow is the engineer in a room full of influencers, quietly competent, profoundly effective, and built for riders who actually know what they are looking for. Number 1, Akrapovic, the apex predator. Akrapovic started as a small Slovenian racing company. That origin story matters because it explains everything about how they operate today. They were not built in a boardroom. They were built on race circuits, under pressure, solving real engineering problems with titanium and carbon fiber, and the kind of thermal management obsession that separates genuine performance brands from everyone else pretending to be one. And get this, they are now the gold standard of motorcycle exhaust engineering, globally, unambiguously, without serious competition at the top. The numbers are almost absurd. Premium Akrapovic systems regularly exceed $2,000 and the demand remains intense. OEM partnerships with KTM and Ducati have elevated the brand into near factory status. Translation: major manufacturers trust Akrapovic to represent their highest performance machines straight from the production line. Use it, Akrapovic systems hold their value at a level that makes the original purchase feel less like a purchase and more like an investment. Riders hunt them in the used market years after installation. Here's the thing about MotoGP level research and development applied to street products. The fitment precision is exceptional. The emissions adaptation is industry leading. The weight reduction is measurable on a scale and feelable in how the motorcycle moves. The real kicker is that Akrapovic did not get here through marketing. They got here through decades of refusing to compromise on engineering, even when cheaper shortcuts were available and profitable. That is rare. That is the industry's North Star. Bottom line, Akrapovic is not just an exhaust company. It is aerospace engineering disguised as motorcycle jewelry, and nothing else in this industry comes close. Here is what it all comes down to in 2026. The exhaust world has split into two completely different businesses. On one side, companies investing in dyno development, lightweight metallurgy, race-derived tuning, and products that make motorcycles genuinely faster and more valuable. On the other side, companies surviving on impulse buyers who still believe that louder automatically means faster, even when every dyno chart in existence says otherwise. The brands worth your money, Akrapovic, Yoshimura, SC Project, Arrow, Vance, and Heinz, Delkovit, are not just selling noise. They are selling precision. They are building products that riders actively hunt in the used market because those products improve performance, protect resale value, and elevate the entire motorcycle. The brands to avoid are increasingly trapped by outdated philosophies and shrinking customer bases, surviving on dealership bundling deals, and riders who do not yet know enough to ask the right questions. The smartest move you can make right now is simple. Stop buying exhausts for attention. Start buying them for engineering, because the wrong exhaust turns a refined machine into an annoying, unreliable mess with a damaged resale value and a fueling map that makes no sense. But the right one completely transforms your riding experience while protecting your investment for years to come. MotoMind exists to save you from exactly that kind of costly mistake. Hit subscribe, leave your exhaust brand experience in the comments below, and we will see you in the next one, where we expose the next thing dealerships are hoping you never figure out.